Hello, YouTube. Welcome to part 9 of Horizon Zero Dawn with a Therapist. I am so glad that you've made it this far. But before I start, we have to have a little chat, my friends, over on YouTube about spoilers and backseating. It has been brought to my attention that there have been a significant amount of YouTube comments that are spoilery or backseating in nature, and I ask that you please respect the rule that we have basically in all of these playthroughs that you not spoil or backseat. That includes tips about quality of life stuff and like UI issues and things like that. I know that it may seem like it's helpful, but it's not. I want to make sure that comments are clear so that when people go in and read them and engage with the content, they don't have things inadvertently spoiled. For those of you that are doing it like on purpose, it doesn't make you cooler in my book. It actually is a bummer to know that there are comments. I've actually had to withdraw from reading some of the comments just because we know that there are some spoilers that are coming through. So I do have people that monitor the comments for that for me. So I ask that you please respect the rule not to spoil or backseat, and to keep that clean because it contributes to not just my enjoyment of the game, but also to the wider community's enjoyment of the game because I can react to things more organically as a result of not knowing what's coming. So I appreciate your adherence to that. That said, leave a like, leave a comment, follow all the links in the description. If you're watching this way out in the future and the playthrough's already done, it's a little bit different. But those of you that are watching as we go, please refrain from spoiling in the comments or providing additional context that I don't already have. All right. Let's rock and roll. Find Olin at the excavation site. That dude is in a bind. I mean, it's interesting because you can simultaneously feel bad for him and also be like, you're hurting other people too, man. It sucks. All right, so here we are in Meridian. Now, there's a shitload of stuff to do in Meridian, so... Whoa.
This place.
People here won't
smells like nothing I've ever smelled before.
Itself above such things.
Is that some kind of spice?
Look at this guy. I want to wear stuff like this guy has.
You're an outlander. Nora from the look of you. I'll bet you're a machine hunter too.
I've hunted my share.
Well, let me give you a word of advice. Don't bother with the Hunter's Lodge. If you're not Karja, you'll never rise in the ranks.
Are you saying that you have to be Karja to join the lodge?
No, they take other tribes. But they have rules in place to keep outlanders from gaining ranks. When Sun King Avad took over, he promised a new day, Meridian open to all. But it's a sham. Sure, you can get a seat at the feast, but you just can't eat the food.
What's wrong with the hunting lodge exactly?
Nothing, if you like stuck-up bigots. I'm known as a skilled hunter back home in Banur, so I thought I'd try my luck at the lodge. I thought it'd be simple. Hunt machines, gain ranks, see who's best. But it doesn't work like that at all. It's all rigged to keep the Karja at the head of the line. I don't need those snobs to tell me I can hunt. I'm going home.
Good for you, man.
Sounds like someone needs to shank things up at the lodge.
Maybe, but it isn't gonna be me. If you decide to go, be sure to give them a good old-fashioned Banuk farewell mark in my honor.
A Banuk farewell mark? What's that?
Piss on the floor. Preferably someplace they won't find it until it gets nice and sour.
Now, you realize that might be a little more complicated for me, sir. See what I can do, though. How about I just leave some anchovy paste spread underneath one of the sofas or something?
See for yourself. You'll regret not stopping when you're in the thick of it.
You there! Can you help me? Nora, please, I need to speak with you. You're the one the Vanguard has been crowing about. The Nora who tracks criminals and traitors with her second sight. If only you'd use it to help me. A thief raided my home and took my brother's sword.
Tell me about the robbery. Don't leave anything out.
It was brazen and professional. They took only the sword, my most valuable possession. The thief went out through the window and scared the shadow off my steward. Otherwise, it would have been a clean getaway.
Why would someone steal the sword?
It's priceless. Made from the burnished antler of a lancehorn, finely inlaid with studded stones all down the...
Okay, I get it.
Forgive me. That's not even why it's important. The 12th Sun King gave it to my brother for his military service. He was killed in battle during the liberation. I was saving it for my nephew who's stranded at Sunfall with the Karja in Shadow.
How did your nephew wind up in Sunfall?
Most of the old clergy backed the Mad Sun King, so when he fell, they ran out of fear of retribution. As an honor guard to a venerable priest, my nephew had no choice but to go with them. Now that my brother is gone, my nephew is my heir, so that sword really belongs to him. And after all he's been through, I won't be able to look him in the face if I don't get it back.
Kind of sad that that guy is taking responsibility for that. And this is something that people do frequently and really should be mindful of, because your sword doesn't get stolen unless a thief steals your sword. As far as I'm concerned, this guy could have left the doors of his home completely open, and it's still not his fault if somebody comes in and steals his sword. It's the responsibility of the person who stole the sword. So this guy's like, I can't look my nephew in the face if I don't have it. It's like, dude, it's not your fault that it's gone. And sometimes when people have some sort of adverse experience like this that happens, that was out of their control, they will overly assume that they had control. Like, he might say, this is my fault that the sword got stolen. Maybe I didn't put it in a secure case, or maybe I left my door unlocked, or maybe I live in X part of Meridian, and whatever. But all of that is just auxiliary to the fact that his sword doesn't get stolen unless a person chooses to steal his sword. So he doesn't need to be the one to, pun intended, I guess, fall on the sword for this. And the hope would be that his nephew could understand that it's not his fault that this happened and could place the accountability where it needs to go. It's really important for us when things like this happen to place accountability where it belongs rather than absorbing it in a way that's not reasonable for the circumstance.
I'll see what I can do about the robbery.
Have a word with my steward if you need to. He saw the thief escape. And listen, all I want is the sword back. Meridian, and my family for that matter, has seen enough strife already. If I can get it back, all is forgiven. No retribution necessary.
Well, that's kind of you. Talk to the steward.
I've got all the best
Check out
goods
these
here.
wares.
Isn't it more of an expression of shame rather than believing that it's his fault? Yes, but shame assumes that there is responsibility on his behalf. Shame as an emotional experience is essentially the fear of being excommunicated from the group as the result of some sort of action or thought. But that means, like, in order for him to feel shame about the loss of the sword, there would need to be a piece of him that's taking responsibility for the fact that the sword is gone. He can be, I mean, you can be sad that it's gone. You can be frustrated that it was stolen. I mean, all of these things make sense, but shame comes along with it a degree of judgment that I think would be misplaced in this context, because it's not his fault that the sword is gone.
Fine goods for a fair price.
You saw the thief make a run for it?
My back was to the wall, you see. Wasn't expecting someone to crawl out the window. He ran past me, dressed in gray, clutching the sword. That's all I saw. By the sun, my heart nearly seized up.
Only finest goods here. See for yourself. Won't cost you a shard just to look. Fine goods for a fair price. Who fought those rebels?
So this guy came out of a window?
That must be the spire. It's huge.
Fine goods for a fair.
I told you what I.
Well, I understand that, but off to the side? That window. Oh, there we go. Okay.
The thief broke the lattice on the way out. And drops of blood leading the way.
Don't pass up these goods.
How do you refute people who get victim blaming in situations like this? Remind them of where the accountability is. Like, make the logical argument. It's not his responsibility. He is the victim.
You'll regret not stopping when you're in the thick of
That sort, again, it's like what I said. It doesn't matter. He could have had his house unlocked, for all I care. All the windows open, all the doors open. There is still a level of social decorum that suggests that you don't walk into somebody's house and take their shit, right? So no matter how you slice it, the only reason that the sword is stolen is because somebody stole it. Like, that one singular behavioral action is the thing that led to this sword being stolen. Nobody forced it. Nobody threw it in that guy's hand or whatever, like, as far as we know. Like, the only reason that sword's gone is because somebody took it. And so no matter how much you want to slice it, no matter where you want to direct anything, that's the thing that led to it. Right? Like, the only reason I have liquid in my mouth is because I did the action to put it in my mouth, right? Like, so it's just getting directed over to that in terms of, like, we have to, that's why I say it's so important to move accountability where it belongs. It's just a way, it's a way for people to want to believe they had a sense of control and that they have control to get it back. Like, you can control how you respond to this.
Rugged? Well,
Which that guy did. That guy said he called me over and asked for assistance. Like, that's what he can do to control the situation. But, like, yeah, that's a scary thing. Like, the reality is the only human being you can control is yourself. That's it. You can't control what other people do. And that can cause crippling anxiety for people sometimes when they overly focus on the fact that they can't control other people in certain, like, situations. But, like, yeah, that guy, if that guy could have controlled a person breaking into his house and taking the sword, he would have. But the reality is he couldn't. It's one of the things that's really interesting about trauma when you really get down to it, is that trauma forces people sometimes to have more realistic expectations of what it is that can happen in the world. And so, like, that's where if somebody blames him for not having the sword secured, you look at that person and say, no. Somebody took his sword. And they're like, well, but it was really, like, easy to take because, like, it wasn't in a lockbox. It's like, yeah, should we live in a world where we have to worry about our possessions being taken? Is that the world you want to live in? No. I'd like to live in a world where people don't do that. I realize there's a reality that people will do that. But that doesn't make it my fault when somebody does that. The reason people care so much about controlling things, Hemso, is because control mitigates anxiety. When we're in control,
I would like to talk to you.
or when we feel a sense of control, it makes it, our brain thinks it's easier to navigate the world. And so things that are uncontrollable cause anxiety because from an evolutionary perspective, they're risky.
Wasn't sure about this.
Still more blood. The thief got cut pretty bad.
Damn, this guy, like, drive the sword.
Look at the.
Someone must have seen the thief.
These new surround constructions.
I'll give you a good price.
Eyesores. They just have no discernment.
Buy what you need, leave the rest.
Sorry, I have no news that would interest you.
Sorry. I have no news that would interest you.
How do you know what would interest me and not?
Did someone run past here, holding a sword?
Sure did. He grabbed some linen off the stand here and took off down the stairs behind you. He was bleeding, so maybe he needed a binding. Blast it! That was expensive cloth. I can't believe I paid for that thief's bandage.
Go to the base of the stairs.
Been all over the city, and I can't find what I'm looking for.
If the thief came this way, there's only one way he could have gone. Forward.
I like that people are mostly
No
like,
sign of the thief. Someone must have seen him go by.
the people are like nodding at me.
Something to do about it. We have other priorities.
Did you see anyone run through here? He would have been holding a sword.
Yeah, almost crashed into me too. He ran down the parapet here and went down the lift. No way you'll catch him now. I didn't see a sword though.
He wasn't carrying anything.
Not a damn thing. Just ran like his ass was on fire.
The thief must have ditched the sword.
Give me strength this day
But
and
where?
this day.
Maybe he had help. That merchant stall would have been a convenient
Hope
drop-off.
you're well.
Turn to the merchant.
Thought I wouldn't have it any other way.
Let's see. What's the deal here? Dude, this city is freaking crazy. Look. Oh, yeah.
Can I go now?
Check out these wares. Buy what you need, leave the rest.
It looks like the thief got away, but without the sword. I thought maybe he dropped it off somewhere. Like here, for instance?
What? No. I had nothing to do with this.
I guess we'll see when I get the city guard to toss your stall and question your customers.
Hold on. There's more to this. You've got a reputation for shining light in the darkness, so I know you'll listen. You're right. The sword was passed to me, and I passed it on to someone else. It's going to be sold, but not for profit. The shards will go to people in need.
You expect me to believe that?
I can prove it. Meet my friends at the watermill in the lower village. They'll explain everything. If they don't convince you, come right back with the guards. I'm not going anywhere.
It wouldn't matter if you did. I'd find you. But all right. I'll check out the watermill. Okay. Guess I should go to this watermill then to find out what's going on.
Finish those traders in Sunfall.
Don't forget to stock up before you're on the road.
There's a couple times where Aloy's response to people doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like Aloy made up her mind there that like all of a sudden that lady is like guilty. Like something that she's very task oriented, but something we've seen within that task orientedness is that like Aloy doesn't seem to really give people the benefit of the doubt. She just kind of like immediately is like, oh, I'll call the cops then. I'll have them toss your merchant stall up and burn it to the ground to get that sword. Like she's very hasty. Very hasty in her decision making around these things mentally. And it makes it's like jarring sometimes. Like, whoa. Like, let's gather some info. Let's ask her what's up. Let's use our reputation for good.
Come, take a look. I'll give you a good price.
I don't believe that Carja and Shadow want peace. The ceasefire will prove to be our
Like, she gets pretty hostile pretty quick. I mean, I would think that her being an outcast would lead to a higher degree of like empathy and giving people a bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like, where she would be like, there's probably more going on here, and let's get that info rather than just taking everything at face value. But I mean, I don't know. It speaks to, I think, the power of, like, once you get a certain idea in your head. Actually, this is worth talking about. Kind of speaks to the power of, like, once you get a certain idea in your head, everything else gets filtered through that as a template. So Aloy talks to the guy who lost his sword first, and then makes the determination that the person who stole the sword is wrong, which, I mean, makes sense. Stealing's not great. But then, like, that biases all of her other conversations. So, like, when the plot gets thicker and more complex, Aloy is still operating in this binary that, like, anybody who assisted with stealing the sword must be bad. Which is, I think, even more particularly surprising given the recency bias of the fact that she just read a journal entry about Olin who was extorted into doing something bad. Like, that would give you a expanded degree of representation around something like this, where you might be like, man, sometimes people do shit because they've really had screws tightened on them. Or whatever. Again, I'm not, like, critiquing Aloy here so much as it's just interesting to me that, like, she gets very, like, I'ma burn your taco stand down, like, very quickly, instead of being like, all right, like, let me try to gather some information here and see what's up. I love that her hair moves with the elevator. That's so great. I don't think the elevator is going fast enough to really lift all of that hair, but it's a cool thing regardless. Definitely not in free fall, no.
Only the finest pizza. Would you like to buy something today?
Would you like to buy some other stuff this down? Take a look. I'll give you a good price.
Dude, as far as I'm concerned, they can play this music in the background always. It's so good. Good Lord.
Sometimes a body needs to rest. Wish I could do it more often. My mother told me to steer clear of things. It seems deadly enough.
I was told to expect you, Aloy. I suppose you want answers. Well, it's not complicated. We collect valuable objects from people who don't need them, sell them for shards, and use the money to help the needy at Sunfall.
You mean you steal?
If you want to call it that. From hogs who've had their turn at the trough for generations.
Ravon didn't seem like a hog to me.
He stinks just like the rest of them, of wealth and contentment, while people beneath him suffer.
Oh, man. This is like Dragon Age, where everything is just so much more complicated than it has any right to be. Boy. there are obvious systemic failures throughout all of the land that we live in. And arguably, wealth inequality is one of the more egregious things that cuts against the well-being of the greater good. I think many of us would agree with that. Like, having people who are exorbitantly wealthy while there are other people who struggle to survive doesn't really feel good. I mean, I'm all for certain people having certain amounts of resources based on having a skill that's desirable. Like, I understand how capitalism works, but there are certain limits where it's like, we really need this much wealth while there's people struggling to eat. That said, going into these people's homes and stealing their shit and then selling it for shards to help folks who are struggling, who are like either unhoused or whatever. While that is a short-term solution, I suppose, because you are getting shards and you're helping people with those shards, it doesn't take into account the wider, larger systematic dynamics that make that a problem. And I think it's things that we have to be very realistic about. I'm all about working with what you got, not with what you wish you had. And what that means is that you're going to have an increased polarity between the rich and the poor if the poor are going in like this, and like if you have these people going in and stealing their shit. And the problem is that rich people, by virtue of having resources, wield power over policies that are going to absolutely harm the people who are the supposed beneficiaries of what's happening here. So what this could potentially look like is now all of a sudden you have a bunch of rich folks who can throw their weight around in the form of shards saying, we really got to do something about these vermin. And they may create a whole host of laws that make it that much more oppressive to not be in the 1%, so to speak. And that becomes additionally oppressive as opposed to creating a degree of systematic change that's actually going to benefit people. Now, if these people are wanting to send a message so that they could potentially have a platform to suggest an alternative policy of how people can get their needs met in Meridian, that's a worthy cause. My worry is that them going in and stealing a bunch of shit from rich people is only going to piss the rich people off who have the power to make their lives worse. And you have to work with that reality. As awful as it is. Do I wish that everybody was on equal footing here and that we didn't have to have this conversation? 100%. I do. And at the same time, that's just not the world that Aloy lives in. Hell, it's not the world that we live in. It's the reality of it. And so while I appreciate this noble cause to do this, you are in the long run shooting yourself in the foot here, dude. And now you've gotten my attention as a seeker of the Nora and whatever that may mean here in Meridian. And maybe that is good enough because if you're getting a certain attention from people who can shake things up and can talk to people in positions of power like Aloy can, maybe Aloy gets the sword back and then goes to this Raven guy and says, hey, by the way, here's the reason these people are doing this. And as somebody who maybe has great wealth or exists in this society in a way where you could actually like vote or influence policymakers, you really need to do something about this, because if you guys were meeting the needs of everybody in Meridian, this shit wouldn't happen. So these people are stealing out of a sense of necessity that's founded upon the system that you guys are perpetuating. So we need to solve some of these very real problems, make sure these people's needs are met, and then this shit's not going to happen. You know, your super fancy special sword with all its gems down the thing, like that all of a sudden doesn't become a target of theft and a target of resentment because you're taking care of folks. So these are the types of conversations you got to have here. And like, this is the very complicated yet overly simplified way that people try to manage these moments and get their needs met. The people who are, so like, if you want to talk about levels of accountability, which I think is a fair question to ask, there's multiple layers to this. Ultimately, the people who stole the sword are still responsible for the fact that they stole the sword. Like they are still accountable for the fact that they stole that sword. However, people in positions of power in Meridian are the ones who are accountable for the policies that have been written into law that create the systemic effects that are happening here. Like, I am always, you've heard me say this in so many playthroughs, you should always punch up instead of down. Like, people in positions of power are accountable for the policies that are perpetuated by their constituents and that they've created. And so, like, whatever system exists here, if there are people, like if there's a council or the king or whoever it is, like, they're the ones that are responsible for trying to address some of the circumstances that are making it easy for people to engage in certain behaviors that we might say are unsavory, like in this case, stealing the sword. So the sword stealer is still accountable, but the people in positions of power are accountable for the circumstances that lead to that being something that somebody sees as an option in order to get their needs met. It's very complicated. King Avad absolutely could address. See, here's the thing that always drives me crazy about this stuff. We saw this a bit in Dragon Age, and you see this a little bit in real life, to be honest. King Avad, by virtue of having power, could literally look at all the rich people in Meridian and say, fuck you, you're not having this much money. I'm going to tax the absolute living shit out of you. You're still going to have a fantastic standard of living relative to other people, but we're going to take care of people who are struggling. We're going to take care of people that create the clothes that we wear, that make the food that we eat. Like, we're going to make sure that they also have a good standard of living. Like, he could do that. And he apparently hasn't so far. But, like, that's what, if you want to wield your power responsibly, sometimes you have to piss off people who have the resources. And there's a lot of people who are afraid to do that. Avad might be afraid to piss off his rich constituents because they have resources. And we sort of arbitrarily assume that if people have resources, they're more important. They're not. You're not more important just because you have more money. So King Avad could wield his power in that way. And sure, maybe you get rich people who are like, but my yacht up north in Bon-Hur, my ice fishing rig that I'm like, well, sorry, man. You don't need an ice fishing rig up in Bon-Hur when there are people here in Meridian that don't know where their next meal is coming from. Sorry, I don't feel bad for you. Oh, no, but I'll only have $10 million instead of $100 million. Yes, and that $10 million is $9.99 million more than the person who lives down the street. I don't feel bad for you that you have 10 million shards left when there are people who are hungry, starving, and unhoused. And as your king, I'm going to make sure that everybody is housed before I make sure that you have tens of millions of shards to go throw around and go on hunting expeditions out in the sacred lands. Boo-hoo! Your standard of living has to drop from the 99th percentile to the 97th percentile so that other people can have a decent standard of living. No. Oh, you only get one yacht. You only have one boat. Oh, you only have one lake house. Oh.
Who exactly gets the shards at Sunfall?
Not the bastards in the fortress. We use the shards to make sure the poor in Shadowside get to eat, or bandage their wounds. They only went west because they had to. Trust me, I know. My wife was chained up with a bunch of servants and herded with them.
Holy shit.
They starved to death, still bound together.
I'm sorry.
So am I.
Where's the sword now?
Safe. I haven't sold it yet.
You know, the great irony of this, just to add some levity to this situation, the great irony of this, how many boxes have I walked up to in Meridian or in the world that just had shards in them? Like, literally, shards are in such abundance that, like, all you gotta do is just open up tackle boxes that are sitting in the pathways and you can get, like, 12 of them. Like, dude, just go upstairs and scavenge a little bit. I did it. I literally walked up to a merchant's tent and took shit out of a box. It's interesting because from a game design standpoint, I think that this conversation would be a lot more interesting if shards really were scarce. Like, if I really wanted to, like, upgrade my shit and, like, I just didn't have many shards, like, this would be, like, whoa. But Aloy's just, like, I'd be like, dude, shards are everywhere. But when you're rich sometimes, man, we're really just hammering this home. When you're rich, well, when you're anything, all right, whatever. I'm zooming out again. This is why you watch this anyway. So, this is where inductive reasoning becomes a real hindrance to empathy and understanding of the wider system that you're embedded in. And what I mean by this is that there is a tendency for people to assume that other people have similar access because they use their own experience to assume that that's pretty close to what other people have. It's sort of like, for those of you that have ever watched Arrested Development, when Michael's mom is like, it's a banana, Michael, what could it cost, like $10? That's, even though it's hilarious in the show, that's actually real. Where people who have a lot of resources generally assume that other people also have access to resources, or that it isn't as hard. That, like, if I had a bunch of opportunities, it also means that other people had very similar opportunities and access. And so that's where we get into these conversations of judgment where people are like, the poor are lazy. Like, a lot of people be like, oh, well, if, you know, I have money because I work hard. And I seized my opportunities. So if you're poor, it must mean that you didn't seize your opportunities. When the reality is, there may not have even been opportunities. Like, the relativity of lived experience is very hard for people to truly engage with, because all of us use our inductive experience sometimes to make sense of other people's experiences and to cast judgment on them. So as a person, in this case, as Aloy, who has a lot of shards, I just did that to an extent where I'm like, well, dude, why don't you just go upstairs and open some of those tackle boxes and take the money out? I did it. When in reality, I'm a Nora seeker who's being given the benefit of the doubt and being nodded at with respect while I'm walking down the street. Such to a point that I could open those boxes and take the shards out, and some of those cards are probably like, oh yeah, somebody probably told her they're there and she probably needs them. They'll give me the benefit of the doubt. It's one of the fabulous things about privilege is you get the benefit of the doubt. Whereas if one of these people went up there and opened that box, police. All over them. Shove them in the slammer because they opened the tackle box that was unlocked sitting on the deck. So it's really the fascinating aspect of, like, the way in which these games really do mimic society as a whole, because that relativity piece and that inductive reasoning is very hard for people to break out of, specifically when they exist in a homogenous zone. Like, if you just chill at the country club every weekend, you're going to start to assume that the only reason other people aren't at the country club is because they just haven't worked as hard as you. And the reality is there could be people working 20 times as hard as you and can't make ends meet because the opportunities just aren't there for them to advance, because the system that you perpetuate holds them down. So, I mean, these dynamics exist in a very real way, and it's important to talk about. Also, Justus, good to see you, bud.
What do you expect me to do now? Walk away?
I was hoping you'd help us. They say you can track like a stalker. Well, my partner Nassan disappeared near the branded shore. He was bound for Sunfall, along with an entire shipment of food. If you found that, you'd be helping a lot of people.
I'll consider it. But only if you return the sword to Ravon.
I am fascinated by Aloy's response there. I really am. That is not how I would have written that response. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me because Aloy so much more could identify with these people than she can the dude with the sword up in Meridian. Like, there's some real bias there. Like, you want to know what bias looks like? That's what bias looks like. There's some real bias. She talks to the guy who got his sword stolen and immediately goes, yeah, you got it, dude. I'll get that sword. I'll go to the ends of the freaking planet to go get it. This guy's like, hey, man, if you could use your focus to go track down a shipment of food that a lot of people are going to need, you'd be helping a ton of people who really need help. And Aloy's like, yeah, I'll consider it if you give me the sword back. Like, whoa, what? I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised by that. Like, I would have thought she'd have been like, hell yeah, dude, I'll go find that cart of apples. And then when we do that, then give me the sword back. And then I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to talk to that guy. And I'm going to say, like, there's some real shit going down there. And you guys really need to keep your eye on it. And I'll give you your sword back if you promise me that you're going to do that. And I'm going to follow up and check on it. That's what I would have thought. Aloy was so anti-establishment for the longest time. And now, like, all of a sudden, she's like, nah, I'm going to get that sword back. We get that big shiny sword back. That's... Screw that food shipment. It's just it's very odd. That's all. And so if I try to empathize with why that might be the case, like, why would Aloy do that? Why would she have that response here? There's two directions I can go with this, and I'm going to let you guys decide what you think. I'm doing a lot of zooming out today, but I'm going to let you guys decide what you think on this. Two options. The first one is, I wonder if Aloy has a particular sensitivity to theft. Because a lot of things have been stolen from her throughout her life. Her history, her story has been stolen from her. Her role or her identity as a Nora was stolen from her. Rost was stolen from her via attack. The proving and all that came along with that was stolen from her. Like, I do think to an extent there is a degree of sensitivity to theft that would potentially give her more buy-in on somebody having something that matters to them stolen that they can't get back. So if that's a piece of empathic engagement that makes it so that she's like, oh shit, like that piece is in there, then that would make sense to me. Why she might be a little bit more like, and then look at these people and say, well, you know, I busted my ass to find my way. And you guys, and I didn't get any help. And so you should have to be self-sufficient on your own. Like, I could see her going in that direction. And honestly, the more I talk my way through this, the more it kind of makes sense that way. She's like, you know what? I grew up with nothing. I grew up with nobody giving me any handouts. And so I busted my ass to get to the proving. I did what I needed to do to become a seeker. And you guys should figure it out on your own instead of stealing shit, because that's the easy way out. I mean, that's a logical train of thought if she wants to go there. It's quite unempathic, but it goes there. The other direction that I could go with this is that I do think also that, like, Aloy is trying to figure out essentially what it means to be a diplomat. Like, Aloy is figuring out how to navigate a world that she really didn't have any exposure to prior to being here. Like, we're casting, by we, I mean I am casting some of our sensibilities as people who, like, have lived in real life and have a broader representation of, like, what societal dynamics look like. Like, Aloy, this is Aloy's first interfacing with, like, really severe wealth inequality. The Nora don't have anything like Meridian. And so she may also really struggle with connecting to all of the complexity that's involved here. And because there are people with resources in the Nora tribe who have answers and are deemed to be important, it could be that Aloy looks at people with resources in the Karja tribe inductively and assumes that they are also more important. and that maybe these people have been either outcast or don't have resources because they did something wrong. Like if she took her Nora sensibilities and applied it to the Karja, all of a sudden it becomes a bit easier to see why she would react this way. But at the same time, it still surprises me that as a former outcast, she is blockaded a bit from having more empathy toward this guy. So anyway, it's a lot to chew on, but that's kind of where my head goes in terms of hypothesizing, like, why would Aloy have this reaction? So I guess we'll find out the more that this goes on. By the way, if you're still with me on YouTube or you're on Twitch, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you all, and hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. It's fantastic that you're here. Thank you for hanging out.
I knew you were going to say that. Fine, I'll return the damn blade. Hassan was supposed to meet his contact at an old campfire on the fork near the branded shore. Start looking there. But be careful. Lots of machines out there, and lots of Shadow Karja. And not the needy kind, but they're tormentors.
Don't look to me for help. My duty is to guard. I don't get involved in politics.
All right. I didn't really say anything to you, but thank you for letting that be known. This guy's got a good amount of food in here, but 1,500 miles away? Holy crap. Seriously? All right, I want to go back to Meridian, just so I can pick up some quests. It's a long ass walk. So if I have to make a long ass walk, I want to make sure that I have all the quests. I'm not interested in politics. Is literally guarding the next Karja equivalent of Robin Hood, right? Yeah, like.
Come, take a look. I'll give you a good price.
Come take a look.
Take a look at these wares.
Prices, fair prices.
I've got all the best goods here.
Fairest prices for machine parts under the mesa. No tithes to the Sun Court. Not like those greedy snarls upside.
She's not interested in taxes.
I know what she's not interested in. As I was saying, no better offer for snap maw lenses. I'd give my oath on it.
By the sun, don't start spitting in your palm. Huntress, I apologize on behalf of my partner. Silent partner.
Silent partner?
If the sun would only grant my prayers. Never mind snap-maw lenses, Huntress. There's no market for those. A long-leg lens, though, you'd be well rewarded for.
What do you want?
So which,
No market for a snap maw lens that's good, strong stuff? You can hammer it into anything.
Where do you think we are? Some trading post with sawdust on the floor? This is Meridian. We have culture.
I know culture. Just the other day I was watching the hunting trials.
Oh, great sun, lend me the strength of midday.
The sun's baked your head if you think we'll shift long-leg lenses at a time like this.
Guys, can you trust me, please? I'm standing right here.
Hello?
Yeah.
I've told you as many times as the spire is tall, craft and artisanship is who we are.
Craft doesn't win a war or keep the machines from your farms. What you need is good, old-fashioned, plain...
Oh, yes. Old-fashioned, plain hammered work. If ever something glittered, you'd throw it back.
If Karja had built that elevator, they would have stopped at a good-looking shaft.
All those years of delving, and you never found a sense of humor.
Guys.
Enough!
Well?
They're a blunt people, the Nora.
Why do you two even work together if you can't agree on anything?
It's a symbolic gesture.
No tithes to the Sun Court, like I said in the beginning, Renine.
Just tell me which part you want.
A long-leg lens.
A snap-maw lens.
Fine.
I'll get one of both then.
I can see that you're busy.
Wait. You drove her off. Snap my lens. What do you say?
I drove her off. That's rich. Listen, Huntress, long leg lens.
Hunters, scroungers, bring us your metal.
The two arguing metal buyers in Meridian Village will pay a reward for a rare machine part. Okay.
Scroungers?
Sounds good, fellas.
What kind of brutes are you trying to attract?
We will agree. I do the calling.
You'll like what I have for sale, I promise.
Before you're on the road.
Would you like to buy something today?
Teach the card to nothing else. Deal to my
I bet those guys have
Still be alive.
plenty of respect for each
Stand
other.
here and do nothing?
What's up?
Tell me what happened to your family. Maybe I can help.
By the sun, I fear they are all dead by now. I barely escaped alive. Machines. Vicious machines attacked my family's estate. Father sent me to get help.
What kind of machines? Where did they come from?
A Ravager. By the sun, how it cut down those guards, and a pack of watchers came with it. The Sun King warned us that he could no longer protect freeholds beyond the valley, but Father never saw this coming.
Tell me more about the estate.
My father owns a dozen quarries, and he's put his spoils into the estate. Fine tapestries, custom woodwork, silver fixtures.
But what about the people there?
Of course. Their lives are all that matter. My father and sister, plus a dozen guards and servants. I hope they survived.
I'll see what I can do about the estate.
You will? Oh, thank you. Oh, please, be careful. Those machines are deadly.
Dude, this dude's outfit is absolute fire. Like that, I want to wear that. Sir, would you exchange clothing with me? Like, that is just maybe my favorite outfit so far. What's up, man? All right. I admire immensely how lived in this world feels. Like, just look at her, like, there's people carrying shit, the wind's blowing, that guard's just chilling there. It is just, man, it's just so good. Like, people talking, indistinguishable chatter, kids running around, like, it's amazing.
It's decent work.
It's like they don't reuse any assets. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. All right, let's go get these quests.
The longer we stay here, the more it'll feel like home. What I have to say, I promise. Well, toss you a shot. Just hello.
Give me your free sample box.
All right. What did you want to discuss?
You're an outlander, which is good. But a Nora, which might be bad. Do you fear the ruins of the old ones like many in your tribe?
No.
No, John
Although
Lennon,
some
I
can
do
be
not.
dangerous.
Then you may have come across what I seek. In your travels, have you found strange vessels, emblazoned with symbols of the old ones? They consist of a hollow cylinder with a crescent handle affixed at both ends. If you bring me these vessels in sets of 4, I will gladly trade what I have for them.
So you're interested in the old ones?
More than interested. I study every ancient artifact I can get my hands on. But years of study have made me too comfortable at my desk. I can't even bear the sun, if the truth be known. I don't know how I'll manage to take a partner. My family presses me for an heir.
Don't look at me.
Oh, no, I'm not looking. In fact, my father already has someone he wants me to wed. She doesn't interest me. I wish I had a brother to carry this burden. I would rather be left to my precious little vessels.
I'm sure you all already know how I feel about the idea of forcing somebody to wed and have children in order to perpetuate a bloodline, so I'm just gonna leave you to your assumptions of what I have to say about that.
What sort of ritual were these vessels made for?
I'm convinced they were used in conjunction with each other in sets. Some people believe they were used for tea ceremonies. Others think they held sacred essences and oils for worship. But I believe they were used for the solemn custom of shaving one's beard. One for water, one for lotion, and so on. Each fluid in its special vessel, majestically applied to the face at each stage of the rite. It must have been breathtaking. But which vessel was used for which? I have to know. I have to continue my research.
Are you sure people didn't just drink out of them?
Drink? Out of such finely crafted earthenware? Don't be ridiculous.
I love everything about this guy because it is such a window into the importance of how symbols affect the way that we see the world. And when you don't know what something is, you have to guess. Like it's so childlike. It's an adult that we're talking to, but what this guy is experiencing is essentially what children experience when they find new things in the world. They have to use their inductive reasoning in order to make sense of it. And a child's inductive reasoning is incredibly limited. So this guy's like, man, they got these like vessels that you put like separate liquids in and apply to your face. Like, dude, washing your face, that must have been like the craziest shit ever. Like, you wash your beard and then you wash your hair and then you use something different to wash your face. Like, holy shit. And he's like mind blown by this. And like so many of us are like, yeah, I do that every morning. Not that glamorous. But this guy's like, whoa. And then Aloy's like, you shouldn't drink out of him. And he's like, no, there's no way you would drink out of this kind of stuff because this stuff's amazing. And it's why, like, children's brains are like exploding all the time because everything's amazing. Like when you hand a kid a new toy, they're like, what? Like, it's just, oh, like they're essentially having the experience that this dude is having because it's novel and it's just like, it's rich. And then once we classify things and we use language to delineate the utility and the purpose and the name of what a thing is, it starts to lose its luster. Like, if you were in, I don't know, like the 1700s and I showed you this pop can, be like, first of all, what the hell is this material? Second of all, how did you mold it into this shape? Third, how genius is this little lever thing to open this up? And how did you get this shit carved? Like, everybody, this would be the most mind-blowing thing ever at certain points in history. Like, you wouldn't be, and like, we're just like, it's a pop can. Like, and some people are like, yeah, I don't even want to, like, it's too much work to, like, recycle it. And recycling in and of itself is, like, an amazing thing. So, like, it's just funny to me how, like, the relativity of, like, accumulated knowledge starts to, like, really make the world lose its luster. And so then this guy is just like, dude, give me this old shit because I'm, like, so excited about it. We could all be so lucky to have that kind of excitement about the world around us and be fascinated with the stuff that's around us. So I love it because like that guy is having to make sense of things he doesn't understand, and he's using his current sensibilities to do it because it's all he's got. I'm not going to shame him for that. I'm not going to call him an idiot because he doesn't know that that's just a mug that you drink coffee out of. He has no way of knowing that.
Yes, yes. Trade quickly. I have work to do.
Palace's reward box. So ancient vessel. Okay, so I got to find all the ancient vessels. I'll buy a metal flower map. Banuk figures. Map for ancient vessels. I'll take it. Map for vantages. I'll take it.
I will leave you to the hunt. Be sure to delve into the ruins. Yes. You look capable. You might do. Come here if you will.
We just talked, bud. Alright. So that guy is cool. And I want to find the stuff that he wants. How do I... Yeah, oh boy. How do I get up to wherever that is?
Would you like to buy something today?
Their stone was down here. Huh. Oh. It's fine that Ridden arrives from
How do I get up there? I feel like I'm in freaking Orzammar right now.
You'll like what I have to say, I promise.
How do I get up there?
Look, I'll give you a good price. Don't.
I got a pair of sturdy all-terrain hands.
Let's see. Think, Aloy, think. At Olin's.
Only the finest goods here. See for yourself. Aye.
Alright, so here's the main bridge.
Can't believe this is gone.
Won't cost you a shard just to look. It's fine that women are rising in the Hunter's Lodge.
Here's to Avade. He may dress a bit too fancy, but...
Maybe I just can't go up there yet. 'Cause I don't see a lever in here. Like what I would typically see. So maybe I'm just gonna let it. I'm just gonna let that one go for now. Let's go find these other ones.
Take a look at these wares.
Maybe, unless. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. That's how you get up there. All right. All right.
You need to win 3 half-suns at our hunting grounds to gain admittance to the lodge.
You mean these?
Very well, then. Congratulations, and welcome. Our members reap rewards and adventure and live on in legend.
Am I a member now?
No.
You're only a fledgling. Junior members are called thrushes. To join and become a thrush, you need a senior member called a hawk to sponsor you.
So I need to find a hawk.
Yes, but a hawk can only sponsor one hunter at a time, and I'm afraid most of them already have one.
I've overcome worse odds. Where do I start?
Upstairs, present yourself to the Sunhawk Assis, our leader, who should introduce you to a hawk. I hope it's worth it.
What do you mean?
You'll see.
Whoa, look at that. You got a Thunderjaw in here, like Sue. That's pretty badass.
By the sun! King Avad's edict really is taking effect. Never thought I'd see a Nora here, and a woman at that. So, you have marks for me?
What do you mean?
From the hunting grounds. Oh, right, you're new here.
What edict?
King Avad insisted that the Hunter's Lodge had to welcome everyone. Man, woman, outlander, regardless of tribe. Ursa, captain of the Vanguard, came in and delivered that news personally. You should have been there. It was glorious. But I figured they would sweep it under the rug and say no woman or outlander qualified. Yet here you are.
Yay, systemic change!
Are you a member?
Me? No. Karja don't exactly encourage their daughters to run around hunting machines. But all the changes in Meridian have been good to me. I don't...
That right there confirms what I was saying when we were down in that sawmill. All Avad has to do is snap his fingers and say, hey, ladies and non-binary folks and outlanders, they got to be here too. And everybody's like, all right. Like, Aloy shows up, shows her 3 half-sons, and they're like, all right, you're good. Now, that's not to say that there's probably not a whole shitload of internal dynamics that make it very hard for people who don't look like that dude at the door to make it to Hawk status. I understand that we're going to have our systemic issues here, that just because you say everybody has to be included doesn't mean that everybody is included. Like, you are going to have some degree of actual, like, policy change and people doing things different in order for this to actually really get through. But it speaks to the power of the king, where the king's like, no more of this boys club bullshit. You're letting everybody else in. And they're like, okay. And it would be even better if Avad was like, if you don't like it, you can leave the Hunter's Lodge, idiots. So, like, it's cool to have that, but it also, again, it speaks to the importance of, like, you really need to have people in positions of power who are willing to make these pushes. Like, Avad might be willing. I don't know if it pissed off the Hunter's Lodge. I'm sure they had their reasons for not allowing folks who aren't dudes to be part of the lodge. But, like, Avad's willing to piss off some of the... he's willing to piss off some of the Hunter's Lodge, potentially, in order to make it more inclusive. I'm all for that.
The Oseram know how to sell to us Karja. The trader I worked for last couldn't sell flowers to a bee. He was too plain hammered, as they like to say. This is a much better job. I figure I'll be able to open my own shop soon enough.
What do you want with my marks?
You hunters and your badges. I'm not gonna take them. I'm going to give you a weapon that sets you apart. Yeah, I thought that'd get your attention. If you earn marks in all 3 trials at each of the 5 hunting grounds, come to me. I can give you up to 3 weapons, 1 for 15 half-suns, 1 for 15 full suns, and 1 you'll love for all blazing suns.
What do I do with these marks?
If you get the same mark from all the hunting ground trials, I can give you a Hunter's Lodge weapon. Show me what marks you've earned, and we'll see if you qualify for one of these special weapons I have for you.
I'm a little short on marks.
No problem. Once you have marks from all 15 trials, you'll be able to get the next Hunter's Lodge weapon from me.
Well, hot damn. Ooh, what do we have over here? We got some lore over here. Ooh, baby. You know I'm a sucker for this. Bylaws of the Lodge. Oh, hell yeah. All right. Bylaws of the Hunter's Lodge. Section 1. Preamble. 1.1. The hunt is the noblest pursuit in the Sundom, save those of the Sun King and his Sun Priests. The hunt is strength. The hunt is honor. The hunt protects. The hunt preserves. 1.2. What is the hunt but competition? What is competition without rank, honor, and victor? 1.3. The Lodge lends law and lore to the hunt, so all will know who has prevailed. 1.4. Thus, the Lodge is not just its members, and not just its house in Meridian. It is the spirit of the hunt, a code to be honored, an ideal to be lived. 1.5. Only those of the noblest blood can embody the noblest ideals. As such, only Karja males of pure blood may honor the Lodge and tread in its house. There it is. There you go, old 1.5. There you go. We gotta be pure. 1.6. By order of His Radiance Avad, 14th Sun King of the Karja, Bylaw 5 of Section 1 is hereby rescinded. But still written in the book, just so you all know where we came from. Section 2. Membership. 2.1. No hunter shall gain admittance to the Lodge without 3 half-sons, one with honor at any hunting ground. See Section 5 below. 2.2. There are 2 classes of member, Hawk being senior, Thrush being junior. 2.3. The rank of Thrush can only be gained through the sponsorship of a Hawk. Each Hawk may sponsor only 1 Thrush. Hey, what better way to make sure people don't have access to the Lodge than to make some arbitrary rules about mentorship? 2.4. There can only be 7 Hawks. Oh. A Thrush can only become a Hawk through the death of his sponsor. Good, you gotta be old, gray, and dead before anybody else has opportunities to have any kind of influence in the Lodge. It's amazing. This is all homeostasis. You have King Avad come in and mess things up a little bit for them, and you see the homeostasis. You see the way they try to pull things back to where they were. So they create these arbitrary ass rules. You can only have 7 Hawks, that you can only go away by death, like all this stuff. Like now all of a sudden, like a Nora Brave, walk in and they're like, sorry man, there's only 7 hunters and 7 thrushes, so you know, you gotta wait till they die, so you maybe come back in 20 years. 2.5. The Hawk who hunts the greatest prey shall become Sun Hawk and lead the Lodge. 2.6. In the event the quality of prey is in dispute, the Hawk who hunted first shall remain first as Sun Hawk. Oh, good. So if you want to remain in power, you just dispute it, and everybody goes, okay, yeah, no, not as good. And you keep your power. 2.7. Only Karja males of pure blood may become Thrush Hawk or Sun Hawk. 2.8. By order of His Radiance Avad, 14th Sun King of the Karja, Bylaw 7 of Section 2 is hereby rescinded. Section 3. Proof of the Hunt. 3.1. The greatest hunts often bear no witness, therefore a trophy must be kept. 3.2. A trophy may be submitted to the Sun Hawk as proof of a victorious hunt. 3.3. A trophy must be intact, undamaged, and from a recent hunt. 3.4. The Sun Hawk shall have final authority in any dispute over a trophy's worth. 3.5. Only Karja males of pure blood may submit a trophy to the Sun Hawk. 3.6. By order of His Radiance Avad, 14th Sun King of the Karja, Bylaw 5 of Section 3 is hereby rescinded. I'm sensing a pattern here. Section 4. To protect and preserve. 4.1. A hunt for its own sake is noble. A hunt in the service of others is blessed by the sun. 4.2. When called upon, hawks and thrushes must undertake any reasonable hunt asked of them if it serves to protect the citizens of the Sundom. 4.3. The Sun Hawk has sole authority to negotiate any fees or bounties associated with any hunt undertaken by members of the Lodge on behalf of the Sundom. 4.4. Any profit from any hunt undertaken by members of the Lodge on behalf of the Sundom shall be shared by all 7 Hawks administered by the Sunhawk. 4.5. Only Karja males of pure blood may undertake a hunt in the name of the Lodge, be it for the protection of the Sundom or for any other reason. 4.6. By the order of His Radiance Avad, 14th Sun King of the Karja, Bylaw 5 of Section 4 is hereby rescinded. Section 5. Hunting Grounds. 5.1. For the purpose of training and recruiting the best and greatest hunters, the Lodge shall provide and maintain hunting grounds. 5.2. Each hunting ground shall test a different range of skills through 3 trials crafted by its keeper in consultation with the Sunhawk. 5.3. There shall be 3 rewards for each trial in ascending order of performance: half sun, full sun, and blazing sun. 5.4. Hunters who prove themselves by winning the requisite number of suns may be entitled to special gear at the Lodge at the discretion of the Sunhawk. 5.5. The Lodge shall provide funds for the construction and maintenance of all trials and facilities at hunting grounds. 5.6. The Lodge shall receive all profits associated with the sale of parts, ammunition, and equipment from all hunting grounds. 5.7. Any profits received from hunting grounds shall be shared by all 7 Hawks, administered by the Sunhawk. 5.8. Keepers shall be chosen exclusively by the Sunhawk and serve for a term of 7 years. 5.9. Only Karja males of pure blood may be appointed keeper. 5.10. By order of His Radiance Avad, 14th Sun King of the Karja, Bylaw 9 of Section 5 is hereby rescinded. Alright, well, it is their club, so they can make some rules.
Tarkus impressed with his skills, but he sponsored Talana. Now we're left with her. She had fallen instead.
Ooh. Good to see you, John. Take care. Also, Rico, thank you very much for the 5 months. Alright, well. It's the boys club, baby. Oh, good. More. Record of Red Maw 1. The Record of Red Maw, by inquiring Jandiniman, historian in residence at the Hunter's Lodge. It is well known that facts recede into fictions as they become memories, and fresh facts themselves are ephemeral among the rumors and legends of the South. This is especially true in the case of Red Maw, that most terrible of Thunderjaws, a machine which is nothing if not legendary. Few who have laid eyes upon it have survived, and among them even fewer can be trusted not to embellish their tales. All that said, here I have endeavored to truthfully chronicle all of the calamities attributed to the beast, and all the expeditions meant to end such calamities once and for all. None have succeeded. As of this writing, the terror of the South still roams free, scarred perhaps, but deadly as the day the sun first shone upon its armored hide. Let me guess, I'm gonna have to kill Red Maw in order to become a member of the Lodge. In the early spring of the 18th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, a freehold was destroyed near the hands of the flood. 9 bodies were recovered, 8 riddled with cannon rounds, 1 flattened completely. No witnesses survived. Though never proven, this is widely thought to be Red Maw's first attack. In the late spring of the 18th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, an expedition of 4 hunters set out from Sunstone Rock to track the machine or machines responsible for the destruction of the freehold. None returned. Their bodies were subsequently found in the south, 3 blasted, 1 stomped, never proven, but thought to be Red Maw's work. In the early summer of the 18th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, an expedition of 6 mercenaries set out from Meridian to track the machine or machines responsible for the losses described above. 1 returned, ribs crushed, clavicle fractured. He spoke of a thunderjaw, which split a man in half with a single bite. This is the first confirmed sighting of the legendary machine, and the one which gave it a name. In the late summer of the 18th year of the reign of Sun King Jiran, man, that feels like they just put that in there to lengthen it because there's like a page maximum they have to hit. An expedition of 8 Set from Meridian to track Redmaw. None returned. 6 bodies were found near Blackwing Snag. 1 blasted, 3 stomped, 2 eviscerated, 1 swallowed his own tongue, evidently in a spasm of terror, suffocating. Jesus. In the autumn of the 18th year of his reign, the Sun King Jiran commanded the Hunter's Lodge to send an expedition south in pursuit of Redmaw. After numerous logistical delays, 3 hawks and their thrushes set out in winter. Only 1 pair returned, reporting the deaths of the others, 2 blasted, 1 stomped, 1 decapitated. The survivors were sacrificed for cowardice. Holy shit. 1 gutted by a sawtooth, the other skewered by kestrels. After this setback, members of the lodge grew wary of pursuing the legendary Thunderjaw. Only the proudest hawks even considered it. Aspirants to the lodge, however, foolish in their ambition, eagerly took part in subsequent hunts. In the summer of the 19th year of the reign of Sun King Jiran, the destruction of a caravan south of the Spurflints, 3 blasted, 2 stomped, 1 immolated, reignited interest in Redmaw. 3 expeditions totaling 15 mercenaries went after the machine, with only 3 survivors, 9 blasted, 3 stomped, 2 eviscerated, 1 liquefied. In the early spring of the 20th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, a cohort of 12 soldiers headed from the rain gathers to the Alight were set upon by the beast. Only 1 survived, 1 blasted, 1 stomped, 10 crushed when their fleeing footsteps triggered an avalanche. Jesus Christ. In the late spring of the 20th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, 3 cohorts totaling 34 men went in search of Redmaw. Alas, they were ambushed by stalkers, and only 4 survived. 24 sniped, 6 exploded. Understandably, this ended the pursuit of Redmaw for some time. In the summer of the first year of the reign of Sun King Avad, a group of 6 Osram traders were attacked by the beast. 1 blasted, 3 stomped, 1 spit into a ravine. The lone survivor petitioned Captain Ursa to send the vanguard after the monster, but the request was denied. However, 3 additional expeditions, comprised of mercenaries and hunters aspiring to the lodge, were subsequently commissioned. Autumn, 7 men, 2 blasted, 3 stomped, 1 tripped on his own spear, 1 survivor. Winter, 9 men, 3 blasted, 2 stomped, 2 died from frostbite, 2 survivors. Spring, 11 men, 5 blasted, 1 stomped, 3 retreated off a cliff, 2 survivors. The last known sighting of Redmaw occurred in the spring of the 3rd year of the reign of Sun King Avad. Tarkus, Hawk of the Lodge, got word of a sighting near Thunderhead and set off to take the beast on his own. His thrush, Talana, arrived at the scene too late, just as Tarkus was dying of his wounds, multiple perforations. Talana testified that as Redmaw lumbered off through the trees, she could see the spear of her mentor embedded in its hide. I'm thinking we should probably go try to fight that thing, huh?
Excuse us. The machine rider graces us with her presence. You're a Nora, are you not? A fighter from the savage lands.
The sacred land, but yes. I fought for everything I got.
Huh. Tell me, do the Nora often wander into other people's homes and do whatever they like?
Of course not.
But that is what you're doing, right now. Stinking up our lodge, pestering your betters.
You're hardly my better. Legan said I had to meet you to become a member.
That would be true if there were any chance of you becoming a member. But you're a savage. And no savage will rise in the ranks of the Hunter's Lodge while I am the Sun Hawk. Now be gone.
No. I was led to believe there are rules here. If they count for nothing, then even your position is meaningless. So quit blustering and tell me. Is there a hawk who is free to sponsor me?
Very well. Talana is free. Wouldn't that be fitting? Trash sponsoring trash. Now get out of my sight.
Oh, God. I mean, is this even an organization I want to be a part of? Like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like being like, you know what? I really think that, like, the KKK should be more diverse and inclusive. I want to work my way. Like, I mean, that's like, it's not, I mean, that's an extreme example, but, like, this dude sucks. like, why do I want to be a part of this shit if I got to deal with this guy calling me a savage to my face like that? I mean, I guess I could try to spite him, basically go with malicious compliance, which is essentially the angle that Aloy took here, but like, goddamn.
Can't wait to go home and go to bed. After a meal, a bath, and a brew, that is.
I mean, I will say this, like, he's got some cool armor, but man, he literally said trash leading trash. That's intense. Legendary hunts. Legendary hunts of the Lodge. In the summer of the 4th year of the reign of the Sun King Marzid, did Farukawas, Sunhawk of the Lodge, behold a herd of grazers so vast that it filled entire the vale below the farback. His bow was a harp that day, strumming the melody of the hunt from noon to twilight, after one could not walk a single step across the glen without tripping on an antler of the fallen. It took all 7 hawks and all 7 thrushes to gather the trophies, and with the bounty from the barter, the last wing of the lodge was raised. In the winter of the 7th year of the reign of the Sun King Hivas, did Darusiv, Hawk of the Lodge, stalk a herd of tramplers from Sand Whisper Valley to the foothills of the Pale Reach. Bombs from his sling fell as hailstones, freezing his prey in the waters of the ford. While the others stood as statues in ice, Hivas sent upon the largest, driving his spear between its plates and taking his trophy before the rest could even stir. In the spring of the 3rd year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, as the machines of the wilds grew ever more deranged, did Kuvam, Hawk of the Lodge, answer the call from the prefect at Daytower to slay the mysterious creature who ripped his beast cohort limb from limb, his best cohort. 4 days and 4 nights he tracked his quarry through the savage east before the brute was revealed, strong as a snapjaw, fast as a strider. From twilight to midnight the battle raged, but Kuvam prevailed at great cost, his left arm chewed ragged at the joint. Thus he named the beast Sawtooth as he took his trophy from its shattered remains. In the autumn of the 8th year of the reign of Sun King Jiran, as the machines of the wilds grew ever more deranged, did Galadid, Hawk of the Lodge, follow the shimmering death haunting the southern freeholds into the jungles of the Jewel. Under that tangled canopy, the hunter became the hunted, glimpsing in the shadows more of the eerie lights, till he was surrounded by machines he named stalkers. Long was his flight through the undergrowth to the safety of the alight, but along the way he turned his bow to his pursuers and became the first to snare a trophy from that which walks in glinting shadow. In the summer of the 13th year of the reign of the Sun King Jiran, as the machines of the wilds grew ever more deranged, did Assis, Hawk of the Lodge, dare to tread the path of broken trees, following the wake of the terrible thing that laid waste to the freehold of Morning Light. And so he was first to face the might of the Thunderjaw, greatest of machines that walk the earth. With spear, bomb, and arrow, brave Assis fought to no avail, and only triumphed by turning the Terror's own cannons against it. The carcass of the beast now hangs in the lodge for all to see, so enshrined because its fall turned hawk to sunhawk. I mean, I killed one of those, so I mean, it's that big of a deal. I did it a couple episodes ago. I guess I'm a Sunhawk too. Not even that impressive.
Another woman is rising in the Hunter's Lodge. About
Boom, 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 boom. I love that there's live music everywhere.
Able-bodied adventurers, preferably with no
What are they
friends
doing
or
out here?
family, but I'm not choosy. Oi there, Outlander. Name's Vilgund. Did you come to the city looking for work? Oh, good shards. Enough to buy garb more becoming of your...
Okay, stop there if you want me to hear you out.
I only meant a well-molded woman such as you. I heard an interesting rumor about a Banuk camp. tame machines, the rumor said. So I hired men to investigate. Just investigate, that's all. Those Banuk are canny, too canny. I paid up front. Well, half up front. I've had no word back.
So now you're hiring someone to find the last men you hired.
They're a sunk cost. This rumor's worth more to me.
Is the rumor well molded? Ugh. I mean, the fact that this guy could be this forward about this, as openly as he is to her face, is a testament to the fact that this is behavior that is allowed. This is behavior that generally has no consequence. People do what they think they can get away with. And again, I'm not... Back when we talked about Aaron in part, 2? I'm not condoning his behavior, but there is an explanation for it, which is that he probably just doesn't know any better. It doesn't make it any better that he's saying these things, but this is the type of behavior and the type of sentiment that he's been conditioned to believe that he can express in the direction of Aloy without consequence. And until there are consequences for that type of thing, or until it is very clear that that is not okay, that kind of behavior is not going to stop. And it requires people other than Aloy saying, I'm uncomfortable when you do that. It would require a passerby to look at that guy and say, what the hell are you doing, dude? Shut that, don't say that shit. And for him to repeatedly hear that message until he starts to believe, okay, maybe it's a bad idea for me to call women well-molded when I run into them. So whether it's cultural, whether it's learned, whether it's whatever, I mean, he very well could think that that's like the utmost compliment that he could give to Aloy. But you got to know your audience. You got to be aware. And when Aloy says stop right there, that's the boundary right there, and he's got to stop. She made it explicit. Atsu, thank you for the raid, by the way. Appreciate that. All right. Anyway, let's keep going.
Are you some kind of merchant? You don't seem to have any wares.
More of an explorer.
But you send other people to do your exploring.
All right, more of an opportunist. Girl. Nora girl. Huntress.
Better. There you go.
We live in a world of opportunities. Risky opportunities. But why should risk stand in the way of a lucrative prospect for the likes of me? All right. I'm more of a gambler.
So is there any more to the rumor about this camp?
The last bunch just wanted to know about the reward. Hey, you're a smart one. This camp isn't even big enough for a name up where the snow won't thaw. They say the Banuk there live alongside machines. Peaceful as you like. Keep them, use them, sing to them. If it's true, if we learned how they do it, think how valuable that would be to all the tribes.
When you say valuable, you mean they'd pay you for it.
Girl, I'm not made of straw.
What can you tell me about the Banuk?
The Banuk women. Snow witches all. Cold eyes, cold... They choose to live up there in Ban-Ur, in the ice. Trying to have a conversation, it's like chipping them out of the stuff. They prefer machines for company. That's why I'm putting my shards on this rumor.
Then they might not want outsiders to know about this place.
Their mystic act. No care for possessions, for luxuries. Pile of slag. Those people bargain harder than the winter frost.
If I did look into your rumor...
You won't need to climb up the shoulders of the world for it. It's on the edge of Banuk land, beneath the anvil of the moon. And you look like you know your way around the savage east. The east. If it's true they walk among machines without fear in this camp, well, you can't miss that, can you? Payment on return.
You know, it's fascinating because like it would almost be easier if this guy was just like an idiot. Like if this guy was just absolutely ignorant and uneducated and just called them the Savage Lands and stuff and just did it nonchalantly. Like there is something in some ways more palatable about that because you can chalk it up to a lack of education and experience. You really could look at it and be like, you know what, it sucks, but this guy is really, he's probably in some ways a victim of circumstance and a victim of the culture in which he's embedded. But he knows that what he's saying is bad because he keeps correcting himself. Like when he's like the Savage East, the East, it means that he has the contextual awareness to know that saying that to Aloy might be offensive to her, but you know that that's what he says when somebody like Aloy is not around. So the level of self-awareness around how problematic the things he says is, and then the continued use of the stuff that's problematic despite that is what makes this guy, I think, very difficult to want to interact with, as opposed to somebody that you could in some ways at the very least understand and have empathy for why he's limited in his ability to interact with Aloy. This guy knows exactly how he's coming off. He is either educated or has enough of a lived experience to know that calling it the Savage East is not okay. That calling her girl instead of huntress is minimizing of who she is. But his like initial calling her girl and calling it the Savage East, it shows you where his default is, and then he catches it and goes in that direction. It seems to placate Aloy rather than to say like, you know what, sorry man, I got a lot of stuff ingrained in my head and it's really problematic and I understand that it is and I'm working on it. It's not that. It's I need something from you, so I'm going to say what I think you need to hear in order for you to have buy-in on what it is that I'm going to ask you. And that's gross. That's using the knowledge of how crappy some of the stuff you perpetuate is against Aloy. Means he could implement some changes to be more kind and inclusive, and he's just choosing not to, and that's shittier. Don't be that guy. I'm pretty sure that goes without saying.
Well met.
Oops. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Hey guys, shut up!
Another day passing.
What those Shadow Karja did to Captain Ursa wasn't right, even if she was an Oseram upstart.
Why would you put NPCs? You have this beautiful ceremony going on. I'm just gonna be a dick for a second. Like, you have this beautiful ceremony. You've constructed this like amazing ritual that we get to listen to with these cool ass harmonies and stuff. Like, this is a cultural experience. Why would you put NPCs in this area that talk over this? Why would you do that? It's like when somebody's trying to give a lecture in college and there's kids in the back row talking. Like, shut the hell up. Go somewhere else. It's like, this is cool.
Hunter's Lodge admits women and savages. Does tradition mean nothing?
The Sun Faith. 7 articles of the Sun Faith. 1. Over all the world rises and sets the great sun, as is plainly seen. To all plants, animals, machine, and men it gives life, as is plainly seen. Of all the tribes, none have scaled such heights as the Karja, as guided by the sun. Witnessing these things to be true each day, celebrating these things each day, we believe in the sun and its light gladly and without question. Apparently their founding father was George Carlin. 2. Only the sun's rightful heir, born of the radiant line that dates back to Ahriman the founder, is the speaker for the sun. To him the sun's desires are revealed, and from his lips its desires are acted upon by men. He shall be known as the Sun King, and his word shall be law. 3. In all things we accept the sun's judgment. We offer our bared skin to it, so it might burn our sins away. We partake of its renewal. We wear its heat for a time. As our skin bears its flush, its bronzed armor, we are made strong. In the cracking and peeling away of our old selves, we are made new. 4. In the sun's light we shall speak only in truth. We shall strike only in righteousness, and we shall act as we believe the sun so tasks us. When the shadow falls across us, we shall always remember our illumination. We shall not cast blame for ill-fortunate. We shall endure. In the coldness of the moon, we accept there will be stillness and death and endings until dawn comes once more. We do this because there are 2 halves of nature, sun and shadow, and to deny one is to deny the whole of things. 5. As a twilight time came before us, ending the world of ancients, so shall a twilight come again. For this is the cycle of things. The buried shadow shall rise up to eclipse the sun's light and usher in great and terrible change. Even knowing this, we are steadfast in our belief and trust that the sun will again bring a new dawn, as it did for our founders so long ago. 6. Holy Meridian shall forever be the seat of the Karja, the city of the sun, and the spire venerated as a mark of its founding. A Sun King born of the radiant line shall always sit upon its throne, for without a speaker for the sun, its will is clouded. For either of these to be denied is to invite a twilight time upon us. 7. Clearly the Karja are the children of the sun, and preeminent in its gaze. But so too does its light touch upon the barbarian tribes of the north, east, and south. It is the speaker for the sun's duty to interpret if the sun's gaze is directed in approval or reproach. So determined it is the duty of the Karja to carry out the sun's will, even in places where light does not reach. I love that. The sun is the all-knowing God, but oh no, it needs a human in order to interpret what it is that it has to say. Man, if only the sun would just talk to us all directly so we could be unified in our understanding of what it is the sun wants, instead of being given to a handful of people who could, you know, skew that.
Ronora, I'm the mournful Naman. My apologies that we meet like this.
Like this?
In grief. You hold yours close, like a talisman. Wait, forgive me. You didn't come for reparations? Someone you lost to the Sun Ring?
No. I know about the Red Raids, but the Karja owe me nothing.
I see. Well, I could use the help of a strong-willed outlander. Then I would owe you very much indeed. These people seek to honor their loved, their lost, with their own voices, not mouthing Carja rituals to Carja stone. But there are obstacles. While Meridian holds its breath for any disturbance, these robes only tie my hands.
What kind of obstacles?
The first pilgrim is an Oseram, who seeks to visit the Shrine of Kings on the road to the city. He waits there now, forbidden to enter by an old sun priest who suffer no heathen. This Utaro lost her companion on the edge of the jewel, at a pool where snap moths gather. The shrine was built there to ward off the machines, and its effectiveness leaves much to be desired. And the Manuk would paint a mark on the sun's climb, a call to the machine spirits, I understand. They need no beckoning. Glint hawks perch there, drawn to the spire's shining.
So clear the machines out of 2 shrines and move a priest out of the other.
All I can ask for is your charity and that their stories are heard.
Naman, rituals and prayers can't bring back those who are lost.
No, but it can help those who grieve to find themselves. It can lend them strength and hope, like a new sunrise.
That is true. That is true. So long as it works for them. Yeah, and, people grieving the way that they need to grieve extends unilaterally. So if these people find that ritual and prayer is something that's meaningful in the time of death, more power to them. That's great. Nobody under any circumstance should ever tell people how to grieve, so long as the grief is not harming others.
I didn't think your priesthood would ask outsiders for help.
If only the sun would set on our pride. Until this is done, I am no sun priest. To wear a red robe was an aspiration. I aspired. Now our hoods make us blind. We whisper reconciliation, but forget how the old king's priests sang the words and blessed the killing.
The killing? You mean the Red Raids?
Yes. And the sacrifices that came after.
Why did the priests go along with all that bloodshed?
Sometimes we Carja are more concerned with what is tradition than what is right.
Huh. Maybe the Carja and Nora aren't so different.
I like this guy. I like this guy. This guy thinks. This guy is critical about the world around him. I really respect that. This guy understands the ways in which certain contextual factors contribute to the behaviors they choose. Like, he's basically like, yeah, we blessed that. Our spiritualness, our role as priests was used, I guess, in some ways to propagandize the raids. Because if the Carja so deeply believe that the sun has motive, and that the sun speaks through the Sun King, and that the Sun King's word is the will of the sun, that which they worship, if you get the priests to bless the raids, that's an extension of the will of the sun. So now all of a sudden people are like, well, even if this doesn't feel good for us, there's got to be reason for it because it's the sun's will. And if I have faith in the sun's will unconditionally, then I'm a heathen if I don't go along with it. And all of a sudden you've got people wrapped up into knots doing terrible things to people because of this faith that they have. And I love that this guy is able to say, we've strayed away from the entire point of this entire thing and have become a utilitarian extension of a political force. Could use more of that. I love it. I love it. I hope that guy becomes a leader in some kind of way. Really good shit. That kind of self-reflection leads to better decision making down the line, And I believe that that guy probably really wants to live out what is actually the doctrine that they follow. Pretty cool.
You're disappointed with the Sun Priests, but you still wanted to be one?
I spent my whole life looking up to the temple. My brother's voice echoing in its arches. Even he couldn't turn me away, and how he tried in the end. He said, when we were loved, our robes were dyed in cinnabar. Now they are stained in blood.
How so?
Our robes are handed down to us. Most of the old priests fled rather than be seen in the glare of a new sun. And so we are left to wear their sins. For me, at least, they hang heavy.
I think there's real utility to that perspective. I might be off a little bit, but my sense here is that this guy's like, I see what this group is capable of being. Like, I want to get into this group and I want to reform it. Like, what's interesting about this, I actually see this as being in some ways a parallel to, I mean, I'll say American politics, but sort of in general, like, some of these positions get so steeped in a certain like identity and role that the people who you would want to have in those positions become averse to the position itself. And what that actually will do is polarize those positions into certain myopic viewpoints because of that. Like, sometimes those groups will exert certain force on the outside to try to make sure that they're insular. But you do also have people who you might say like, wow, that person would be amazing if they were in the like this priesthood, or if they were in the council, or they were in a position of power or whatever. And that person's like, nah, man, I don't want to deal with the bullshit that goes along with that, because it's just too much for me to navigate, and I got my own life to live. And so this guy has essentially, it seems, looked at this priesthood and is like, no, man, like, this is capable of being something good. And I'm going to fight through the warnings that people have given me about this system so that I can actually induce some change in it. And I find that admirable because it can be very hard for humans to want to do that, especially when you know that it's like a massive uphill struggle to make any kind of change in a group that is generally homogenous or has been used in a certain way.
Where is your brother now?
He waits for me on the trail of the sun, I hope. He spoke out against the sacrifices. For a priest to question the Sun King's will, his punishment was worst of all.
You lost someone you loved too. I'm sorry.
No, not lost. When I took on these robes, I found his memory.
Ugh, and that's the problem with human interpretation of deity. Right there. My brother questioned what we were doing, and because we've been told that the king's will is the sun's will, he's a heathen.
I'll do what I can to help those in mourning.
To honor their memories is to honor us all.
Honor the fallen. Sun Priest Naman wants to usher a new era of reconciliation between tribes by helping 3 pilgrims. Each wishes to mourn loved ones lost during the Red Raids, but obstacles stand in the way. All right, so that I find interesting. Let's see. Oh, cool. All right, so this is like mostly in areas that we've been to, which is neat. So let's go here.
I prefer the one about the Sun Priest falling in love with a merchant's daughter.
Okay.
I've seen this 4 times already.
All right, in we go. I probably should have looked around that area more for lore. That's all right. We'll go back at some point.
What I imagined when I
This
was
must be the Shrine of Kings that
It's
my mom
decent
told me
work
about.
keeping the city safe.
Talk to the Oseram Pilgrim.
Have a look. It may have been meant for the Mad Sun
Oh, there's some good ass drama going on that we're gonna start up in part 10. Thank you all for sticking through this and watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I am enjoying this immensely. I can't believe we're already going to be going on to part 10 here. If you have liked the video and commented and followed the links in the description, thanks for being awesome. If you haven't done that yet, you can still be awesome by doing that. If you're binging this series, then I'll see you in the next one. If you are waiting for the next one to come out, we'll get it out as soon as we can. I appreciate you all immensely, and I'll see you on the next one.